Hello everyone, and today I'm going to be turning this chip of RAM, an old RAM chip that I have lying around, into an arrowhead with just pliers, maybe some scissors, and that's about it. So I was going to try and make the shape of an arrow, cut a sort of diagonal slit on here. I'm just going to bend it over until it snaps, and it should go nice and easy like that. And then we have our first edge. We might have to take these silicon chips off because they're going to get a bit in the way when we're making this arrowhead here. So we might have to go ahead and remove them. I'm going to break a little slant that goes like this way, and then I'm going to go back a bit down here to make sort of like the diamond tip shape. So let's go through here, cut a nice shape like this, and then go straight ahead just with the scissors. I'm only going to use the pliers to cut through the silicon chips here because they're a bit thicker and I don't particularly want to risk my scissors on the silicon chips here. After we've done the first one, we just come back over this way, and we can go ahead and snap another diagonal line in this general direction. We just go like this. We should be able to snap it. It's not going to give a perfect break at first, but it should snap this little silicon chip in the middle, which should allow us to pull it off the circuit board here, so it doesn't get in the way and makes it a lot easier to cut. Then we can go ahead and take our scissors and just make a nice little cut in this direction here. And surprisingly, you can actually cut RAM chips just with scissors. they're not too thick, so that you can just go straight through. And then we're going to go this way again, and we'll just come back over to the other side to even it up a little bit. And on these RAM chips, there is actually a tiny bit of gold. So you can see along here they use gold as the conductor along the edges of the RAM chip, because it is a very good conductor. Not as good as silver, I don't think, but it is a very good conductor nonetheless. Once we've done that, we might want to just even this up a little bit. It's not perfect. You can just sort of eyeball it to get a good little arrow shape here. And these PCB RAM chip arrowheads can be quite sharp. You can actually use them as pretty good little arrowheads. It's a great way to make arrowheads if you don't have, the ability to make proper steel ones or whatever. PCBs will do just fine. We can also go ahead and sort of depopulate what's ever left on the circuit board here, and just with the pliers by scraping. We don't really need all of these little capacitors and such still on the board. And we should get a nice fancy looking gold tipped arrowhead. We now have a gold tipped arrowhead. If you want to, or depending on how you're going to attach this to the shaft of the arrow, you might want to make a little notch in the side just below the point where the diamond's shape is made, where it splits off to going from this direction back down to this direction. You can just make a couple of little notches in the side here, and that makes a great attachment point for attaching or using like a string or some sort of tethering rope. You can even use copper wire as a great source of something you can use to bind to the shaft. Now we have a nice little pointed golden tipped PCB arrowhead made out of a RAM chip. And based on how big the RAM chip is, you can probably get, I don't know, if you're careful, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or 7, I'd say 6 or 7 arrowheads out of a single RAM chip. I don't think RAM chips vary that much in size, so it's probably always going to be the case, because most motherboards take the same type of RAM. Well, at least on Windows PCs. I know laptops have smaller chips, so you'll probably get less out of a laptop RAM chip. But yeah, we can go ahead and attach this to a shaft. There's a bunch of different things you can use for the shaft of the arrow. you can use just like a skewer, I suppose, if you're, if it's not a very, it's just a toy. Or you can use a carbon fiber rod from like a proper arrow. You can just buy carbon fiber shafts that you can then put this on the end of it. And usually you can just cut a little notch in the end and just sort of slit it in there. You could even tape it on if you so chose to do that. Another option is you can cut like a coat hanger to get a nice metal shaft, which will transfer a lot more of the energy from the bow you're using, or crossbow, whatever you're using, into the tip of the arrow. However, I must point out that this PCB isn't impenetrable. It will shatter if you put too much energy into it. But these guys can do a lot of damage. If you would want to further increase the penetration of the arrow, you can sharpen the tips. Ideally, you'd probably want to use like a file, or maybe even sandpaper could work. If you don't have either of those, you could always painstakingly use the scissors to cut the edges, but you're not going to get it as sharp probably. Anyway, that's how you make PCB gold-tipped arrowheads out of RAM chips. Anyway, thanks for watching and have a nice day. Goodbye.